This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. I never thought I'd say this on a hot take. I agree with Darth Vader. Who am I talking about? Dick Cheney, former vice president for W, the architect of the Iraq War, a borderline war criminal, a federalist, a conservative, defense secretary under first Bush, a chief of staff for Ford. You don't get any more Republican and conservative than Dick Cheney. And now he's joined a growing chorus of senior Republican White House officials who have all come out against Donald Trump, not just going privately into a booth to pull a little lever to vote for Donald Trump in private, but doing the courageous thing, the patriotic thing, to come out against Donald Trump because he's a threat to our country. I have debates with people in and around my life that are conservatives or say they are Republicans or say they are, that say they're not MAGA, but say that they're Republicans. And they always have an excuse for every time there's another drip, 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 the dam breaks against them and another Republican comes out against Donald Trump. Oh, they're rhinos, Republicans in name only. Oh, they've lost their fastball. Oh, they're communists in secret. They're socialists. They're wolves in sheep's clothing. Dick Cheney? Seriously, man? Let me read to you first from Dick Cheney's own statement as to why he's doing this. And this follows closely on the heels, and I think somebody that broke that glass ceiling and gave permission and license to people of the stature within the Republican Party, within the Republican movement, of somebody like Dick Cheney, who gave permission and license for him to do what he's doing, is somebody like J. Michael Ludig. Judge Ludig, who's been a regular almost on the MeidasTouch network. I've interviewed him 4 times. He wrote a 5-page authentic, poignant letter also endorsing Kamala Harris and saying that there was no choice. It was binary. There's only one party in his view that was the protector of the democratic flame of our constitutional republic. And now that's given license to Dick Cheney to do the same thing. Here's what Dick Cheney had to say. Dick Cheney said, in our nation's 248-year history, there's never been an individual who was a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump, wrote Cheney. He can never be trusted with power again. He tried to steal the 2020 election using lies and violence. He also concluded his letter, Dick Cheney did, by saying we have a duty to put country above partisanship, to defend our Constitution. That is why I'll be casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Eerily similar to what we saw Judge Ludig write, along with 11 other former White House attorneys, all who had worked for Reagan or one of the Bushes in the past. This is, we might be getting Republicans voting for Donald Trump fatigue, but we shouldn't. Dick Cheney's a big deal. I mean, for all intents and purposes, most people think that Dick Cheney was the president of the United States when W was in office. I mean, the running joke, which was really gallows humor, was that, the lights were on, but nobody was home with George W., but that Cheney, Darth Vader, sort of penguin, was running everything and running it into the ground. I'll grant you that. But he went from, in my view, war criminal to finally waking up. And this would be the equivalent. Let me just put the historical precedent here and put it into sharp relief. If like Richard Nixon was still around or Ronald Reagan were still around, this would be the equivalent. I mean, it really is. I mean, like if we exhumed Ronald Reagan or did a seance and he came back and said with that little Ronnie voice, fellow Republicans, there's a choice is clear. You must vote for Kamala Harris in the coming election, or if Jesus Christ himself did it. I mean, I don't know what would be more powerful. Now, of course, Donald Trump is ready with the quip. He knew that the endorsement by Cheney was coming because Liz Cheney has been his arch enemy since she was one of only 2 Republicans on the Jan 6 committee doing her civic duty. And how was she repaid by the Republicans in MAGA? She was run out on a rail by her own party. She couldn't even get reelected in Wyoming, even though she's the daughter of the iconic Dick Cheney. As I said about Judge Luttig, same thing for Dick Cheney. If they were remaking Mount Rushmore, they'd etch his profile there as a Republican. That's the problem with MAGA. They don't respect their elders. There's no legacy. Ronald Reagan could not win a primary, could not win the presidency today for the Republican Party. Neither could Dick Cheney at all. And Nixon probably couldn't either. And because that party has left its feet, has left its senses, and we're left with one party short of a two-party system. But Dick Cheney's doing the right thing. As I said with Judge Luttig, he subscribes to my position. It's not about red versus blue. It's about red, white, and blue. Here's what we could expect from Donald Trump, who's already posted. Here's what he's had to say on his social media. Is he still on social media? Here's what he said. It's really an attack on Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney, who with Adam Kinzinger ran the opposition side of Jan 6. They were the only two Republicans, both losing or choosing not to run, but doing the right thing. Liz Cheney was the vice chairman with Benny Thompson of that committee, and they issued that 350-page report, which I'm sure Dick Cheney sat at rapt attention and listened to all the hundreds and hundreds of witnesses, many of them within the Trump administration and around the Trump campaign, who testified against Donald Trump. I mean, Dick Cheney, yes, he joined the chorus of Republicans from other presidential administrations, other Republican presidential administrations from Reagan, Bush 1 and Bush 2. But there are people within their own party, Trump's own administration, that have come out strongly against them. We saw some of them at the Democratic National Committee. Many of the people up there at certain points in time during the night were former Trumpers and were now effectively testifying to the American people against them. Here's what here's what Donald Trump had to say about Dick Cheney. Have you ever felt uneasy leaving your home, wondering if everything will be safe while you're away? I know I have. And after some research, I found SimpliSafe. I've loved having SimpliSafe protect my home. And with a new baby we need to protect, the added security exceeded all expectations. What makes SimpliSafe stand out? With fast protect monitoring and live guard protection, SimpliSafe agents can act within 5 seconds of receiving your alarm and can even see and speak to intruders to stop them in their tracks. You'll never be locked into a long-term contract, and pricing is transparent and affordable at less than $1 a day with no hidden fees ever. SimpliSafe has been named Best Home Security Systems by U.S. News and World Report for 5 years running and offers the best customer service in home security according to Newsweek. It's easy to install and activate your SimpliSafe system in less than an hour. Or choose a professional installation to have a pro do it for you. Protect your home with 50% off a new SimpliSafe system, plus a free indoor security camera when you sign up for Fast Protect monitoring. Just visit SimpliSafe.com/legalAF. That's SimpliSafe.com/legalAF. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Dick Cheney is an irrelevant rhino, along with his daughter, who lost by the largest margin in the history of a congressional race. Not sure that's true. They couldn't get Scooter Libby, who did so much for them, but was so unfairly treated. I don't even know what that, I mean, I know who Scooter Libby is, but I don't know what that reference is. Pardoned. I did it. He's the king of endless nonsensical wars. I guess that we're talking about Cheney again. Wasting lives and trillions of dollars, just like Comrade Kamala Harris. Now he's spelling comrade with a C and not a K. I am the peace president, and only I will stop World War III. Oh, here's the scare the shit section of the social media posting. Let me just comment on that historical reference for a minute. We didn't have any wars under Bill Clinton. We had no wars under Obama. We had an invasion by Russia into Crimea under Obama. Biden, we've had no wars. We've had wars that have gone on in other parts of the world. Pardon me, but we've had no wars where American troops have put their boots down on foreign soil in a traditional sense, or a war has been declared. But I digress. I am peace president. Okay. What Liz Cheney did with the Unselect Committee of Political Losers is unthinkable. She and her unselects deleted and destroyed all evidence and information. It's gone. That's a lie. What he's referring to is something that's already been dispelled and debunked a number of times. When the Jan 6 committee went out of business after the Congress ended and the MAGA Congress came in, they turned over all of their documents and information, witness statements, over to the new committee and put it up on a website for all to see, and that's where it still resides. There's never been any proof that anything's been deleted, and that's a lie. And Donald Trump has raised that issue a number of times in federal courts and criminal cases, and it's been rejected every time. She and her unselects deleted and destroyed. Okay, much of it proved that Nancy Pelosi was responsible for Jan 6 by didn't provide security. That's a lie. That's a lie. We all know what Donald Trump was doing for those several hours in the dining room of the White House, railing about Michael Pence and calling for his assassination and hanging, and not calling out the National Guard or getting the Army involved or anything to protect the Capitol. Nothing to do with Nancy Pelosi. Cheney and others should be prosecuted for what they did. Why not? Talk about projection. But Comrade Kamala is even worse. I don't know who taught this guy how to write a sentence or a paragraph, but it never makes any sense. Never has a topic sentence, never has any organizational structure, always ends in the same way with a non sequitur. That is Donald Trump's posting. Whoever writes that for him should be removed from their position. But the takeaway from this hot take is, if you would have told me 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that I'd be doing a hot take about Darth Vader Dick Cheney, who used to scare the crap out of Democrats. I mean, when young Democrats like myself at the time used to not be able to fall asleep at night, it would be Dick Cheney's visage, his face, not Freddy Krueger, that would pop up into our brain and leave us sleepless. And now for me to say, I second that. I second that motion. And think about what the words that he's saying. Like I said, you don't have to agree with a darn thing that Dick Cheney has ever done in his life, and you could also consider him to be a borderline or a war criminal. I get it. However, here is the moment when even arch conservatives and Republicans are stepping forward and calling out Donald Trump for the threat to democracy that he is. It's not just that the emperor has no clothes. It's that the emperor is a despot who is desperate and who is hell-bent on staying in office and holding power regardless of any democratic institutional guardrails around him. And that scares the shit out of Republican conservatives like Dick Cheney, and he wants to give license and permission to other, what I'll refer to as country club Republicans, to vote against Donald Trump in November, telling them it's okay. I'm going to do it. The water's fine. Come on in. That's where we're at. And it's important. That's why I don't want people to get another Republican endorsing Kamala fatigue. Think of the Republicans that we're reporting on here on the MeidasTouch network. Somebody of the stature of Dick Cheney is not to be dismissed with the back of a hand. Just, oh, well, he's just a rhino. Dick Cheney is a Republican in name only. That's not what Donald Trump means. He means he's unwilling to kiss my ring and be a MAGA follower and cult follower. Here's the question I have for independents that lean right and Republicans that are still out there that aren't MAGA. This is almost like if a tree falls in the woods and you don't hear it, did it really fall? Is there really a Republican Party that is worth its moral soul when next to it, standing next to it and dominating it is something called MAGA and Donald Trump? It's not for the Democrats to crush and snub out the last vestige and the embers of the MAGA movement. It's up for the Republicans to do it too. You have this aberrational strain of MAGA that's like a cancer inside of the Republican Party, hollowing it out with its malignancy, And the Republicans aren't doing a darn thing about it. And they want the Democrats to be the medicine, to provide the surgery. The American people are going to send Donald Trump packing, I assure you. And this kind of the Michael Ludigs of the world, the Dick Cheneys of the world, the Adam Kinzingers of the world, the Liz Cheneys of the world, the 11 people who were served presidents and swore an oath to protect the presidency, or presidential scholars, constitutional scholars, White House scholars, including some in the Trump administration themselves, all lining up to come out against Donald Trump, not just because they don't like the guy, not just because they think he's a buffoon, not because they think he's demented, he's too old for the job, he's running on fumes and vendettas, not just that, but that he's a threat to our democracy and undermines the rule of law and our constitutional republic. That's why Dick Cheney endorsing Kamala Harris so full-throatedly is important. I'm going to continue to follow it. We're going to do it right here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. You helped us get to 3 million subscribers, and we are so honored and blessed that you did it. We're doing the content, but you're doing the hard work, the laboring oar of audience involvement and participation. Tune in every Wednesday and Saturday. There it is, Legal AF. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so you don't have to. And find out what 40 million people a month already know, that Legal AF is the home of law and politics and that crossroads. And we do an analysis of it, and we do an explainer of it in a way that I think is unique and isn't happening on YouTube or on podcast anywhere. Wednesdays and Saturdays are full-length podcasts we curate for you. Top 3 or 4 stories at the intersection of law and politics like this one, and we bring it to you in a podcast format. Wednesdays, I do it with my co-anchor Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Saturdays with Ben Meiselas, and then we do hot takes like this one about every hour at that same intersection. And if you don't like to watch your podcasts, if you're OG like me, you like to listen to them, that's all right too. Pick it up on any audio podcast platform. There's our album cover. It's Legal AF. Plug it in and you will find us. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popak reporting. Heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.